How to improve your time management and productivity at home. We are going to go through and I'm going to give you 6 specific things to consider. When we can live life on our terms, on a holistic level, taking into account not just our business lives, but also our health, all of our relationships, from friends, family, to our partners, the world changes. All right, so I've had the good fortune to work with people literally all over the world, CEOs, leadership teams, variety of different organizations, even some couples. And one of the universals that people across the board are facing as a challenge is the idea of time management. And when we think about time management at home, it's just as important as it is at work. And the reality is people talk about work-life balance. Candidly, I think work-life balance is bunk. I don't think it can really exist anymore. However, a healthy, intentional work-life integration is possible. And to do this, you have to really, really put the intentionality and put some effort into doing it. But when you do, you can get so much more out of it. So the 6 things to consider when you're looking at how you can improve your time management and productivity at home. Number 1, it's going to sound very, very simple and elementary, but it's your phone. If you can control your phone, remember, the people who come up with the devices, from the stimulus to the bells, the vibrations, all that, they're the same people who came up with all the designs that are in a lot of the casinos in the world. We get a dopamine hit every time the phone vibrates. We end up unconsciously looking at it all the time. So the first thing I'm going to suggest is transition from a reactive state with your phone to a proactive state. It's simple, but if you can come home, when you come home from work, come home and put your phone someplace that's accessible, but that isn't within arm's reach. This one small step will have a massive impact on your time management at home. Because the reality is you spend half your day scrolling and you're constantly being distracted by it. So first off, put that in a home. I have a box in one of my houses that I come home and put it in the box. Another, I put it in the drawer. All right, second thing, be present. I believe the number 1 gift we can give anyone, including ourselves, is to be present. So when you get home and you talk to your spouse, sit down and look at them and say, tell me about your day. How can you be as ultra present as possible in whatever you're doing? Now, the best call out I've heard of this is I was coaching a CEO of a public company, actually. And we'd been talking about it. He goes, no, I'm good at multitasking. He's like, he wasn't, but he thought he was. And it was his 4-year-old daughter that called him out. He came home and he was sitting on the floor, quality time with his daughter, but he was scrolling with his thumb. And she finally just said, Daddy, why don't you leave? It's like, why? It's like, you like your phone better than you like me. This crushed him. But it was one of the best things that could have happened to him because he realized he wasn't being present. So if you're sitting down to play Barbie Fun Time or Unicorn Fun Time or whatever it is, when you do, go in and be 100% present. The more you do this, you can get more done in a much smaller time. I would so much rather you invest 10 minutes really sitting down with your spouse and being curious about how your spouse's day was, versus 2 hours of, yeah, right, oh, okay, sure, or watching stupid stuff on the TV. So the second thing is to be present. The third thing is to time block. And by the way, these same rules apply whether you're in the office or not. But when we talk about time blocking, when you choose to do something, set a certain time that you're going to look at it. So if you're going to look at your phone, that's all right, nothing wrong with that. But time block when you're going to look at your phone and when you're going to respond. How do you take control of that? So you say, yeah, you know what? I am going to look at my phone and I'm going to do a little bit of work to catch up on the day, because that's what is expected. But I'm going to do that from 7:15 to 7:30. And hold yourself accountable. Don't then I wonder what's going on Facebook. Oh, let me check my scores. And before you know it, it's 8:45 and you've missed that quality time with family where you could have done those other pieces. All right, the next thing is to make sure that what you're doing is that you're doing first things first. This is one, especially at home, especially with certain expectations that people have, either society-wise or self-imposed, is that, well, God, I have to do all these things. I have to get everything done. The reality is you don't. And no matter what, you're not going to get it all done. And if you do, you're probably not going to get enough sleep, and then you're not going to be the best person, the best you can be. So look at the things that are first things first. What are the things that you absolutely have to get done? And that's spending quality time with family. That's taking care of yourself and your health. Maybe it means that the dishes sit in the sink. That might suck, but I would so much rather you do that and let those things go and then hit it the next day or in the morning or whatever it is. But make sure that you are doing what's really critical, what you have to do, rather than, all these other things that I think I should do or it'd be nice to do. Make sure you're really looking at first things first. All right, so we've talked about making sure that you do something with your device, put it in a drawer. Be present. Make sure you're time blocking. Working on first things first, staying focused. The next thing is treating yourself in a different way, that you are the primary asset of your organization. And if you're at home, that you're the primary asset of that relationship. Whether you're a parent, whether you're a kid, however you look at this, you're one of the primary assets. And if you turn into a reactionary mess, you're not going to be nearly as strong as you can be. So to do this well, that means that you have to protect your sleep. You have to make sure you're getting enough rest. You have to make sure you're eating right. You have to give yourself permission to let those things go. If it means, leaving the dishes in the sink versus getting a full 8 hours of sleep, get the 8 hours. Because if mama ain't happy in the house, ain't nobody happy. So keep that in mind. How can you be looking at yourself as a primary asset and giving yourself permission to do this? When you do this, you will actually become much more efficient in how you manage your time, and you'll get things much more done. And lastly, the sixth point with this is to consider, always be thinking about, how can we transition from that reactive state to a proactive state? How can we transition from a reactive state with our devices so that we're putting them in a drawer? How can we transition from a reactive state where we're like, to, let me be really present and curious? How can we transition from that, I'm trying to do this, to, no, I'm going to time block and I'm only going to stay focused on this during this time frame, and I'm going to get a lot more done. How can you transition to from reactive to proactive? Realize, I'm not going to get it all done, that's okay, but I am going to do first things first. How can you transition from a reactive to a proactive state, and making sure that you treat yourself and protect yourself as the asset? So ideally, you found some value in this. If you did, hey, please feel free to check out our site at lifeon-yourterms.com. Please subscribe, check out the channel. Love to hear from you. Keep smiling.